All right. Thanks for coming to the talk. I am Pearl Yu at University of Georgia. In this project, we look at the impact of Gen AI assisted tools on freelancers' job preferences and price bidding behaviors. And this is joint work with Sonia and Nicole from Microsoft Research, also Ted and Kelly at Upwork. So Upwork is actually based in San Francisco, so this is also a very good chance for me to visit and finally meet my co-authors in person for the first time since the project started. So motivation for this project. Oh, am I doing this right? Oh, okay. Sorry about this. So motivation for this project. After this class of Gen AI tools was released, there has been a first wave of research on productivity gains, mainly at a task level via lab experiments or natural experiments. Right? I guess at this point, we all agree that there are productivity gains. However, evidence on heterogeneity is kind of mixed. So some studies would say that the skill gap is narrowing, some would say this gap is broadening, right? And when we look at what happens with productivities in the actual workplaces, it's even more complex. Since people are subject to roles, different contracts, and organizational norms, for example. So the first goal of this project is to look at how these productivity changes are realized under real-world incentives and constraints for different types of workers. Right. Furthermore, in this project, we hope to go beyond productivity changes and look at how Gen AI tools are impacting the labor market. So now this is an even more messier, way more complex process because Gen AI impacts both sides of the market. Right? It changes the workers' costs, the benefits. It also changes job postings and job requirements. To even more messy, Gen AI also influence the matching and hiring process, right? So the second goal of this project is that we want to focus on the supply side. So we start with the worker side. And with a field experiment, we will be able to cleanly isolate the effect of generative AI on workers' job preferences at the partial equilibrium. So holding the market conditions the same and holding the employer side changes the same for the treated and control, right? The context of the study is the freelancer market. We work with Upwork, which is the largest freelancer online digital marketplace in the US and also globally. So the freelancer market by itself is pretty big market. Also, this market kind of reacts to technology changes faster because, with traditional labor markets, people are bounded by long-term contracts, right? So on Upwork, the employers would post these jobs, right? And there are two types of contracts. There are hourly jobs and there are fixed price jobs. So for hourly contracts, the freelancers are paid by a hourly rate, whereas with fixed price jobs, the freelancers are paid by, for example, $50 per job, right? And in each job cycle, the freelancer would have to go through these 4 stages. They need to choose, of course, what jobs do you want to apply? And then they go to the hiring stage and the actual working stage, then they get the earnings and the client rating. Right. So at this proposal application stage, in addition, of course, you need to choose what jobs do you want to apply to. You need to write a cover letter or proposal. And very interestingly, on Upwork, they can also bid on the price. So this is not an auction process. The job doesn't go to the lowest bidder, but of course, it would be in the employer's hiring function. But yeah, for hourly jobs, the freelancers can propose their hourly rates, right? And for fixed price jobs, in addition to the wage, they can propose a job completion time. So this is saying how long it takes for me to complete the job. Okay? And the focal tool we applied is Microsoft 365 Copilot. It is a large language models backed assistive tool that's integrated with the Office suites. Okay? So as example in Word, there's a prompt window. You can ask it to generate first drafts, make edits, iterate on them. There's also a sidebar. It also retrieves your local documents to search for information. Another example in PowerPoint that generates you the entire slide deck, which is pretty nice. So to the experiment, the design is quite simple, right? So we gave Copilot licenses to the treated group of freelancers back in October 2023. And we selected active freelancers who completed at least one fixed price jobs and from job categories that actually use the Office suite. So this includes writing, marketing, sales, and admin support. We also double check that they do use the Microsoft Office suite in a pre-experiment survey. So the final sample size, we have 300 freelancers in the treated group, around 350 in the control. I do want to clarify that this number is not based on any power calculation, but how many licenses Microsoft was willing to authorize. Yeah. So we collect 18 months of data, behavior data in total. So that's 1 year before and 6 months after the experiment. I'm going to talk about the outcomes, but the outcome metrics are pulled directly from Upwork's database. And in addition to the pre-experiment survey, we also sent it out a post-experiment survey 3 months after. So we asked about how they're using Copilot, their usage frequencies, and their usage of other tools, and their perceived changes on productivity and job preferences. Right? In addition, after a first round of initial analysis, we conducted around 5 interviews, which is not great statistically, but was really helpful to understand what was going on. Okay. So first of all, take-up rate. Out of the 130 treated freelancers who completed this post-experiment survey, 92 out of them reported that they used Copilot at least once. So the total take-up rate ranges from 30 to 70%, which is not bad. And we did not restrict the freelancers who use other tools, and they did use a range of other tools. But yeah, we do find that the treated freelancers use other tools less frequently, and we are careful about the causal claim. So we're saying this is the effect of a Gen AI tool that's integrated into your workflow. And you can also imagine if you compare the results, effect between having an AI tool versus no tool at all, the effect sizes will be larger than our estimates, right? Okay, so now to the metrics. People can use Copilot in 2 places, either in application or actual work stage. And in actual working stage, for hourly jobs, we can observe their actual working hours, since Upwork do track your mouse movements and they record your screens. And in terms of quality, in terms of ratings and earnings, we have some metrics for quality, including the client ratings. Also, we asked about this in the surveys too. We also observed earnings, but didn't find significant things. However, what happens in your job cycle would impact how your job application behaviors too. And at the application stage, we mainly want to look at, well, where are you applying to? Then on similar jobs, your price bidding strategy changes, right? And I do want to clarify that since we do have access to their entire database, we can check on a lot more outcomes, but some of the measures are really noisy, and we didn't find significant effects on a lot of them. For example, the number of proposals, hiring probabilities, but we're careful. Like, we don't want to say there's no effect because it is pretty small sample size. Okay. So, well, the model is pretty standard, and we control for a bunch of other things like pre-experiment, monthly earnings, tenure of the freelancers, their usage frequency of the Office suites, and AI usage. Now to the results. First of all, for a lot of the metrics, we didn't find significant results at a population level, but that actually masks great heterogeneity. Right? So we ran a causal forest and found that pre-experiment earnings is the most significant predictor for heterogeneity on many metrics. So we break the freelancers into 2 buckets: a high earning bucket that had that was in the top 25 quintile in terms of earnings, and the rest in the low earners bucket. So first, across contract types, we find that the high earners slightly switched their job preferences, their applications from hourly to fixed price jobs. This is marginally significant, but we also confirmed from the interviews that they are intentionally doing this. And the reason is they are able to save more time and take on more projects with fixed price contracts. Because on hourly contracts, because you're not really incentivized to save time because you're paid by the hour. right? So this would actually suggest some incentive misalignment, since actually only 1/3 of the projects on Upwork are fixed price contracts. And furthermore, we also find only on the high earners, they when they apply for jobs, they report they can do them faster. Okay. So then on hourly jobs, again, we find divergent patterns. First of all, for low earners, they overall decrease their bidding price. But overall bidding price is the composition of where you're applying to and then your pricing strategies on similar jobs. Oh, okay, it's back up. Sorry. Yeah. So we measure the value of a job posting by the median price bid of all the applications and find that the high earners slightly lowered are moving to lower value hourly jobs. And again, from the interviews, people report that, well, this is because just, Copilot at the time helped the most with the lower value easy jobs, right? So it's likely this is driven by the state of the Gen AI model, which is subject to change. Then on similar jobs, I won't bore you with the table. This is where we find the most significant results. The results are that the high earners on similar jobs, they increase their price bid, whereas for the low earners, they decrease their price bid. So this is quite interesting, and we were trying to rationalize why this is happening and mapping back to the productivity gains. Right? So first of all, on hourly jobs, there's no time saving. We didn't observe it. People are not incentivized to do it. But you can also use Copilot to increase your quality or reduce effort. So effort reduction means that you do the same amount of work in 1 hour, but it's easier. So it's a cost reduction, and it relieves your mental capacity constraint. Right? With a very simple utility specification, it's not hard to derive that if you choose to increase quality, that leads to a higher bidding strategy. If you choose to reduce effort, that would lead to a lower bidding strategy. So our conjecture is that for the high earners, with Copilot, they choose to increase quality. This would allow them to charge a premium. There could be many potential reasons. For example, they're already efficient at their jobs. They're reaching to capacity and they're not too worried about getting hired. Whereas for the low earners, it's likely that they choose to use Copilot to reduce effort. And this would give them a margin, the cost reduction margin, to charge a lower price in exchange of a higher likelihood of getting hired. Right? So that is our results. We do find, empirically, we do find that for the high earners, there's a signal of quality improvements. So a higher percentage of their hourly jobs gets a rating. We look at the proportion of jobs that gets a rating because there's a rating inflation. If you get a rating, it's a 5-star one. Okay. And the results on the surveys are telling the same story. So a few takeaways. Our results on contract type switching seems to suggest that, maybe you want to reconsider contract designs that can better incentivize people to use Copilot in a good way. Then our effects on heterogeneity suggest that Gen AI is just such a flexible general purpose tool. And we would expect more customized AI that are designed for certain goals and more kind of incentive compatible. Okay? And yes, this is our QR code for the paper if you're interested. Thank you. Questions? Yes, please.
I forget that the public measure their efforts.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we can observe time saving, we can observe quality. So there are multiple signals, but we cannot observe effort reduction, which is why we are using kind of a utility specification and try to derive why people are using this for effort reduction, because we actually cannot test it directly. Yeah. Questions? No. Oh yes, please. I see. That is a great question. I don't think this is classified information, but you would expect job postings on general job categories to decrease. There's increase in some job categories, but then on the supply side, they see a surge of freelancers. So I guess this is not about my research, but the trend seems to be with Gen AI, there are more people entering the freelancer market. Yeah. Oh, yes, please.
That like
Oh, yes, that is also a great question. So we actually have a follow-up study that try just to look at the contract differences. And there we do find there's a gray area where the contracts where a certain task and jobs can be specified either as fixed or hourly. Of course, there are certain characteristics, like if the job is not really project-based, it's role-based, then it's hourly. Then sometimes it's just a one-off, a simple thing that you have 1,000 documents to process, then it's more likely to be fixed rate. But there is a gray area. Yeah. Come on, touch it.